More than 93% of the available lands in the Greater Chaco region have already been leased out for oil and gas extraction. We are fighting for the last 7%. The Greater Chaco region is the ancestral homelands of the Pueblo and Dene indigenous peoples of the Southwest. The Chaco Culture National Historical Park is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and the home of ancestral Pueblo kivas and dwellings. Pueblo people maintain a living and spiritual connection to the landscape, and the Navajo communities live within the region. Despite rising opposition from sovereign tribal nations and environmental groups, and even in the face of a global health crisis, the Bureau of Land Management continues to approve fracking operations in the region, and are now moving forward with the approval of thousands of new fracking wells within the Greater Chaco landscape. Indigenous peoples particularly are being hit the hardest by the coronavirus pandemic. In the midst of this public health crisis, the Bureau of Land Management is still continuing to sell off federally managed land parcels for extraction, and they are also refusing to extend its public comment period for a major new drilling plan in the Greater Chaco region. Frontline communities face threats to their health and well-being, while the United States' historic failure to respect tribal sovereignty is an everyday reality. Since 2014, the Greater Chaco Coalition has been leading efforts to educate their communities and share the impacts of oil and gas activities.
The Fracking is a Fracking reality tour. It's a glimpse of the oil drilling that's happening in the counselor community. It was started by Daniel So, and he's given this tour for a few years now, and it's meant to show you firsthand the cumulative impacts of fracking. There's all sorts of people that come on this tour. There's people wanting to lend their support, but they don't know how. And so when you show them the firsthand impacts, it makes a difference on how they respond to the issue.
I have a 6-year-old grandson. I want him to be able to breathe clean air, drink clean water. I want him to know that it came times to where we spoke up, and I want him to know that I did speak up and fought on his behalf. Yeah, there is a lot more work to do. It will continue for however long until we completely stop. The fossil fuel extraction, to where we can actually say that we no longer rely on it. We have different forms, things that we need to do and use. So,
I know today we are here at Chaco Canyon, but it's just not about Chaco Canyon. Am I right?
Yep.
It's about protecting our way of life as indigenous people and sharing that with the rest of the United States of America. To protect our lands here is just a beginning. Today we all recognize that water is the next gold here in the Southwest. And we here on our native lands want to protect our way of life, as well as to have clean drinking water for the future generations. And I want to say to each and every one of you out there that have supported this initiative, we are coming in unity to push back. Last year we commemorated 150 years of a treaty that was signed. We as leaders have to go and remind the folks up in Washington, D.C. about that agreement almost on a weekly basis, that there is this nation to nation, this government to government relationship that the federal government has with tribes. And it's clear in the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, that there is a special relationship. And the recognition of the inherent sovereignty goes a long way. And the folks behind me, know that inherent sovereignty in tribal communities. I wish all the rest of our congressional folks up in D.C. would know that special relationship, but we have to continue to remind them on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, especially every election cycle.
Being here, it definitely summons a lot of emotions. I definitely don't like to call them ruins, because even though like there may not be people physically living here, like inside these rooms, there's still spirits and ancestors here occupying this space. And this is also a place where a lot of people today, indigenous people, Pueblo people, still find like their ways back here somewhere or another. You can't call this place like abandoned or an ancient place where it's still very much alive. And then just not to mention that there are actual people, the Dene people, living like outside of this area. One wonderful thing for Indigenous people that has come out of this Chaco coalition is the Dene and Pueblo solidarity. It's interesting because at one point in our histories, there was definite tension and even this adversarial tension between Pueblo and Dene people. And in this moment in time, that old historic beef, so to speak, has totally been squashed. Because these struggles are a matter of life and death. It is our cultures, it is our families, it is literally our survival that is at stake.